Gas prices in Texas on the rise. We have tips to keep your fuel costs from breaking the bank just ahead. Plus, we wrap up National News Literacy Week, showing the effects social media misinformation about a modern issue has had on one Central Texas family.
And it looks like it's going to be a really nice last week in January here, as we'll have sunshine across the area. Next storm system won't be on board until we hit Monday or so. That's when rain chances increase. And then we have colder air by the end of next week. Your 25 News starts right now.
Connecting the Brazos Valley. This is KRHD News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Hallie Jones. College Station police are looking for a person who robbed a shopper at knife point Thursday morning in the Walmart parking lot of Brothers Boulevard and Longmore Drive. Police say the incident occurred around 10:15 a.m. and the victim suffered a minor injury. The suspect was seen running from the area following the robbery. If you have any information, contact CSPD at 979-764-3600. The College Station police are also searching for a missing teen. 16-year-old Jakora Paldo has been reported missing since January 25th. She was last seen on the 4000 block of Victoria Avenue in College Station wearing a black or red hoodie, blue jeans, and green shoes. She is believed to still be in Brazos County, possibly in the company of a young man. If you have any information on her whereabouts, contact College Station Police at 979-764-3600 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-8000-THE-LOST. Now to that shootout with police in Houston. A suspect opening fire and wounding 3 officers, then carjacking at a Mercedes at gunpoint and barricading himself inside a home for hours. Rena Roy has the latest.
New video shows the moments a gunman opened fire in Houston Thursday, shooting 3 police officers before carjacking a Mercedes at gunpoint.
Mercedes! He just carjacked a white Mercedes!
Authorities say the chaos began when those officers responded to a disturbance call, the suspect spotting them, then speeding away in a dark gray sports car. You see him crash, then open fire in surveillance video obtained by ABC station KTRK.
There's an officer down. There's an officer down out there.
The suspect then taking off in that stolen Mercedes, barricading himself in a home for hours, allegedly firing again at police before eventually surrendering.
Walked out of the house with his hands up. He had an apparent gunshot wound to the neck. He's been transported to the hospital.
Police say the pistol used may have been modified to fire like a machine gun. The Houston area was already mourning Corporal Charles Galloway, who was fatally shot last weekend by a different suspect.
I'm damn tired of it. And we need to stand up as a community and do whatever we got to do.
In Milwaukee Thursday night, police say a man shot an officer, then stole his patrol car before crashing. He and the 3 Houston officers are all expected to be okay.
Gas prices have managed to stay under $3 per gallon in the Brazos Valley for some time now. But that's all about to change. KRHD reporter Rebecca Fiedler discusses steps you can take to combat higher costs at the pump.
Gas prices are on the rise. The statewide average now back at $3 a gallon. And by all looks of it, it's probably going to stay at that point or maybe a little bit higher for a little time to come.
AAA says Texas gas prices are still lower than most of the country. But since dipping during the early days of the pandemic, it has been steadily rising.
More people are driving. Demand for gasoline has gone back up, but we also are seeing now oil prices increase because of the geopolitical situation overseas.
But there are several things you can do to increase your vehicle's fuel efficiency, making those extra dollars stretch further.
Definitely keeping up with the maintenance on your car, oil changes, spark plugs, air filters. As far as maintaining the car goes, making sure you have the proper inflation in your tires.
Changing out air filters regularly can help keep your car from exerting extra energy. Even following the speed limit can save you gas.
Setting your cruise control going down the highway just to keep it even, normal pace, that's one thing.
Gas prices routinely go up during the spring and summer months, so taking every step you can to make sure your vehicle runs efficiently is important. Reporting in College Station, Rebecca Fiedler, KRHD News.
The 5G rollout means higher speeds for newer devices, but leads to problems for devices on older networks. Cell phone carriers will be phasing out 3G networks this year. AT&T plans on shutting their 3G next month, with T-Mobile and Verizon following later in the year. Tech experts say it could affect devices beyond older cell phones and devices. It could impact car navigation, home alert systems, even emergency services. If you have a 3G device, you should consider upgrading or contacting your service provider. Tesla's Cybertruck is delayed again. During a Wednesday call, CEO Elon Musk told investors the pickup won't be ready until 2023, 2 years after it was promised. Musk also said the main issue is new technology and finding a price people are willing to pay for it. When the truck was announced in 2019, it had a starting price of $39,900. During the call, Musk also said no new vehicles will be announced this year. After the announcement, the price of Tesla stock fell 11% on Thursday. We're just days away from the one-year anniversary of the Texas power crisis. Since then, ERCOT has rebuilt its board of trustees from the ground up, and during the 87th legislative session, laws were passed to ensure this never happens again. As ERCOT's new board members work from the top down, newly appointed Vice Chair Bill Flores says their main priorities are weatherization of generation facilities, building greater reserves, and working on communication.
We're going to try to be better communicators. So one of the challenges we had before is that we had communications breakdown among some groups of stakeholders. And so ERCOT is working well with the PUC, with our policymakers in Austin, and also with our local distribution companies and our generators to make sure everybody is on the same page.
Now, this means if the power goes out, consumers will be aware and have expectations of when it should be back on. While much work has been done, Flores adds the grid still faces challenges regarding fuel availability for natural gas-fired generators and managing solar energy resources.
Many disparities have been uncovered during the pandemic, but income is one factor that doesn't make a difference when it comes to COVID hospitalizations. When looking at its first round of hospitalized patients, Northwestern Medicine found income didn't play a role in recovery or how well they recovered. The findings suggest academic medical centers may play a role in helping to reduce negative effects from socioeconomic disparities. Vaccinated households provide good protection for children who are too young to be vaccinated. That's according to new research out of Israel. The research looked at 2 different times when virus cases surged. It found young kids who live with at least one vaccinated adult had between a 21 and 26% lower risk of catching COVID. There was even more protection when both parents were vaccinated.
This is the no mask case. This was a cotton case. This one is a surgical mask. So you can see it actually does really well. This one here is fleece, neck fleece. And what's noticeable here is that the number of particles is actually bigger than the no mask case.
In this video provided by Duke Health, its researchers tested which face coverings provide the best protection from COVID and other viruses. Many academic institutions have done tests like this one. Now more Americans have access to the top performing masks. Major retailers from Albertsons to Walmart either have or will soon have free N95 masks. They'll also be available at food banks and community health centers. Supplies are limited to 3 per person, and scientists who study these masks say they can even be worn until they're damaged or really dirty.
Please do not put them in the oven or the microwave. Don't spray them with any disinfectants. It's best that you store your N95 respirator in a clean, dry place, like a paper grocery bag.
A 3M scientist says the N95 masks are designed to fit adults, so it's better to find a different option for children that comfortably covers their nose and mouth. The material used in N95 mask is better at filtering out particles than the common blue and white surgical masks.
N95 respirators are really sophisticated health and safety devices designed to help protect you. They have great filter media and they're designed to seal to your face. That's why N95s really provide the highest level of protection of the face coverings that we have available now.
If you can't find free N95 masks or can afford them, she says a surgical mask is better than nothing. Millions of people struggling to pay private student loans may be missing a way to get help.
There's this misconception broadly across America that if you have student loans, the doors to the bankruptcy system are closed off to you.
Who this could be an option for and why many people haven't known about it.
I love the latest on the Omicron variant. While new Omicron cases are declining, there may be a new concern on the way. Take a look at this map. Some areas of the country are still seeing new COVID-19 cases, but the amount of cases are declining or at least holding steady in almost half of the states over the past 2 weeks. Health experts believe this COVID-19 surge could soon be over. But now a spin-off of the Omicron variant called BA2 is gaining ground in countries like India and Denmark.
It doesn't appear to be substantially different with regard to transmissibility. But if you look at severity of cases and you look at the data from Denmark, it doesn't appear that the cases that are with the new variant, the sublineage of Omicron, are any more severe.
Pfizer and Moderna are both working on vaccines that target Omicron, which could be ready by the fall or even sooner as the race for a universal vaccine continues. Fewer and fewer Americans are getting a COVID booster shot. Since mid-December, the number of Americans getting a booster shot every day has dropped from more than 1 million people to just over 500,000. Experts say confusion surrounding the CDC's messaging and uncertainty over the need for boosters is to blame. 63 million eligible Americans remain totally unvaccinated against COVID-19. Strong thoughts and opinions driven by social media misinformation has created a wedge between one Central Texas family. It's now been 2 years since they were able to gather, with some vaccinated and others not. As we continue our coverage for National News Literacy Week, 25 News reporter Leah McNeil tells us how the family is coping.
Hi. Poops, let me see.
The Smiths' home is filled with love and laughter, making memories and reaching milestones without some of their loved ones.
So they haven't even met the baby, didn't come to our wedding, nothing.
After some initial hesitation,
I'm gonna take my chances with this versus going out here and walking into something that's gonna ravage my body, possibly kill me.
Kristen and Robert Smith both got their COVID-19 vaccines and boosters, encouraging some family members to get the jab too.
As our immediate family, everyone just started getting vaccinated.
But not everyone. Some extended family even contracted COVID but still chose not to get the vaccine.
They've already been conditioned. Over 2 years they've been conditioned that this shot has something in it.
Social media misinformation plays a role in their decision.
You know, they're injecting people with chips, or they're injecting people with something, or you know what I mean? So that's what I see more on social media, is the negativity, or just people, the unknown, people being scared because they don't know.
We're in a situation where there is a great deal of misinformation, even more so than there was at the beginning of the pandemic.
Dr. Leslie Honor specializes in communication and disinformation at Baylor University. Social media giants like Facebook are making an effort to reduce and label misinformation.
However, it didn't reduce the overall amount because the number of people who came back to try and create more of it and go around their safety measures increased.
Honor says that misinformation often feeds on someone's emotions.
If it makes you feel safety, that's a red flag, and that's something for you to consider, as opposed to, is it giving me the truth, which is that things might be more dangerous than I'm comfortable with, but I still have to keep moving forward.
It's why those who consume a lot of news through social media need to go the extra mile.
I'll see something on social media, but I'll take it 2 or 3 steps further and go research it and, okay, so is this for real or not? Or
hey, no man.
While the Smiths understand the choice not to get the vaccine, they are confident in their decision.
whether I believe, the vaccine or not, I'm just gonna do what I think is right for his safety.
and hope their extended family will do the same.
All we can do is just pray that, one day they either get vaccinated or they try to do something to protect themselves.
Reporting in Bell County, Leah McNeil, KRHD News.
It has been a quiet day here across the area. Clouds and radar showing that we have hardly seen a cloud in the sky, and I think that's going to be the case as we move into your Saturday as well, as all the moisture from last night that continues to work its way across South Texas into the Gulf of Mexico is being swept out to sea right now. Next storm system for Monday is right here on the edge of your screen, but it's going to take a couple of days to get here, so things are going to be quiet, and then it's going to be very active to our east. As you head over into the southeast and going into the northeastern part of the United States, a big winter storm over there. But when they get a winter storm, we're usually nice, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So tonight, it looks like things will be pretty quiet out there going right into Saturday afternoon. Clear, sunshine as we make our way into Saturday, looking good. And Sunday, same thing. However, a few high clouds may start to encroach from the west as we make our way into the mid to late afternoon hours. It stays dry on Sunday, but we get to Monday, and that's when our rain chances start to increase across the area. So for tonight, temperatures will dip down into the lower 30s for you. It will be a chilly start to your Saturday. By the afternoon, highs will be into the middle 60s. So we are looking at mild weather across the area over the weekend. I think we'll probably stay just shy of 70, but I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe some western areas seeing close to 70 degrees Saturday and Sunday. Monday, there's your rain chances, 80%. I think a good chance of rain will move in. Some of that could be locally heavy. Some folks may get over an inch of rain as we head into Monday afternoon. So good news there. Tuesday, that moves out. We get a little bit of a break, highs near 70. Same for Wednesday. I think our cold front is going to stay to our north until Wednesday evening. Then it's going to plow through the area, and we will likely see the potential of some rain, maybe a little bit of a mixture, dependent on what model comes true. Some models are dry, others have more precipitation. We're just going to have to wait and see here. So again, nothing to panic about, but it will get colder as we head toward the end of next week.
During the pandemic, millions of people have gotten a break on paying their federal student loans. But there's been no relief for millions of others with private student loans who may not realize bankruptcy could be an option.
Folks that have lost their jobs during the pandemic, that are struggling for money, that are struggling to stay afloat, bankruptcy might be the best option for them, particularly if they're already going to file bankruptcy because of medical debt or credit card debt. Being able to escape these often very high interest rate private student loans is a lifesaver.
The Student Borrower Protection Center just investigated this. It estimates $50 billion in private student loans taken on by more than 2.6 million borrowers is eligible to be discharged in bankruptcy.
Our investigation turned up evidence that for years, big and small companies across the country have been telling borrowers that they're not eligible to discharge their loans in bankruptcy, while also telling their investors that the law actually says you can discharge these in bankruptcy.
Navient, a loan servicer, and a group of 39 state attorneys general recently reached a nearly $2 billion settlement around this and other things. The servicer is denying any wrongdoing. One attorney we talked with has been helping people file bankruptcy with their student loans since 2016, but says only a small number of people are aware of this.
Normally, when we have a client come to us, they're either in default on a student loan or they're making payments and they're just not making any headway. So the people who this wouldn't be for is people who can easily afford their loans. Most of our clients cannot afford their loans. They're another mortgage payment, basically.
Her clients range from their 30s to their 60s. Most have student loans with high interest rates from the mid-2000s.
We had a client who owed around $130,000. And so when she first came to me, she was paying $1,300 a month and it was interest only. So she realized this is a forever debt. She's not making a dent in it. It's never going away. So we reopened an older bankruptcy and we ended up settling out for $24,000. So that was less than around 22 cents on the dollar. Her payment's very, very low.
She says one of the biggest concerns for the people she works with is how a co-borrower on the student loan will be affected. It can be worked out in the settlement that the servicer won't go after that person. Well, we fix our hair and some of us even try and find that perfect Zoom lighting. It's tiring for many, but it's also how we've stayed connected. Jesse Cohen shows us how all of these Zoom boxes we've been staring at have actually been preserved through some unique art.
Art has no boundaries. There is always something new to explore.
I don't know what's going to happen. This guy had polka dots, that's dorky. As I'm painting it, I'm like, oh, I have a stovetop espresso.
That is even more clear to Megan Williamson.
This woman, she was talking about the first day of Ramadan.
After nearly 2 years living through this pandemic.
This is a woman who is really mad, but you can see she lives in a lovely place. This is Ron Kim. He's a council member in New York, and I just love the way he's lit.
She is a painter in Chicago.
Medium.
And immediately became fascinated with work from home spaces.
The portrait series did start because I was watching the news a ton, like everybody, and I could only watch it on my phone.
Megan took screenshots of people being interviewed on the news from the comfort of their homes, then transformed them into the 100 portraits now hanging in her studio.
It was the sense of one person in their place, and I kind of couldn't stop. When I get going on a series, it's kind of like a runaway horse.
The more she painted, the more she realized just how humanity was being captured in her art.
So even the experts were at their kitchen table making their best guess. And then it's like, oh, you're wearing a sweater in front of your mantelpiece with the painting of your dog. I mean, it just made them human. Well, I had to put a moratorium on balding white men in front of bookcases. This woman's cat came in and she just kind of said, all right, we're gonna go with it. And she has this pink chair just set back, like, who is that for?
When this journey began, she didn't know what it would turn into.
And I have never painted from photographs before. I'm not a portrait painter. I do still lifes, landscapes, and then work out of my head. So this was a new thing.
But as it turns out, it spoke volumes to Megan and has now become a center of relatability for others.
It was a response to the time. I didn't know I was responding necessarily in the beginning, but yeah, I wanted to capture it. It felt very personal, like I was trying to work something out about, just being locked up in the pandemic, in lockdown.
People from all walks of life, frozen in time, adapting to the world of lockdown.
Yeah, we've all seen these people, or we are these people. It's just people that do this, that make laws or invent things.
To Megan, this piece is about shared humanity and the connection we have to each other.
I'm so fond of all these, my nameless friends.
In Chicago, I'm Jessie Cohen reporting.
Jessie, thank you for that report. COVID vaccination rates are still low for the Latino community. How one political cartoonist is working to change that with a message focused on families. All right, topping the newsfeed, Kia is recalling more than 410,000 vehicles in the U.S. The car maker says it needs to fix a problem that can stop the airbags from inflating in a crash. The recall includes the Forte 2017 and 2018 models, along with Sedona minivans and Soul SUV models from 2017 through 2019. A federal court has rejected a plan to lease millions of acres in the Gulf of Mexico for offshore drilling. The court decision cited the impact the lease would have on planet-warming greenhouse gas emissions, which would violate a local environmental law. The judge left the next steps up to the Interior Department. COVID-19 has now hit one of the last uninfected places in the world. The island nation of Kiribati in the Central Pacific closed its borders to keep the virus out for nearly 2 years. But now, after it started reopening this month, it's seeing cases, even though people who arrived were required to be vaccinated. During the pandemic, helping people in need by giving to them directly has become more popular than going through a large nonprofit. Monday, how some businesses are now embracing their own form of direct giving and the impact it's having. But still to come today, misinformation around COVID continues to be an issue, especially in the Latino community. We'll introduce you to the woman fighting this, especially in rural areas.
There is a shortage of veterinary technicians, and the demand is only expected to grow over the next decade. Blinn College is trying to help solve that problem by allowing students to do some of the work online. KRHD's Brittany DeFran explains.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, vet tech jobs are expected to grow by 15% over the next 10 years. That could make the shortage worse, as there are not enough graduates to fill the jobs that already exist.
We are seeing a large amount of shortages in veterinary technicians, assistants, and vets, so throughout the whole board, it's across it. So we're hoping that this program will give insight, and as we have students go through the program, that they tell other people about the program.
Blinn College hopes its blended veterinary and technology program can help. While labs must be completed on campus, courses are completed online. Blinn has partnered with Texas A&M so students get hands-on experience.
When we send our students to A&M, that is a real life hospital. It is going on as a hospital right now. So they can see clients walking in and out. They can see emergencies come in. They see everything right there on the spot and see how it is in the real world.
If you are interested, the deadline to apply has been extended until February 28th and classes begin in May. In Bryan, Brittany DeFran, KRHD News.
New COVID variants like Omicron can feel like deja vu as new streams of misinformation arise and spread. The issues continue to be especially difficult in communities of color. Well, this week we've again teamed up with the News Literacy Project to shine a light on better information consumption and sharing. Dan Grossman introduces us to two Latina women working to get accurate information to rural areas.
To see Maria Araña speak to the masses is to see that maybe radio never did die.
We think that there's a lack of information, a critical lack of information, reliable information for people regarding the pandemic.
Each week, she connects to more than 100,000 unique listeners on Radio Bilingüe in Fresno, California. More than 100,000 unique listeners who rely on her for information they don't really come across anywhere else.
I think it's a positive that is contributing to getting more people ready to protect themselves and their families.
When you have families that are very disadvantaged, they don't necessarily have technology at home, they don't necessarily have Wi-Fi available in their home.
Genoveva Islas is the executive director of Cultiva la Salud, a nonprofit working to educate a population that is not only more vulnerable to COVID's effects, but its misinformation.
When the first doses became available for seniors, many of the Latino seniors didn't know they were eligible to go to the fairgrounds to get a vaccination.
Through Radio Bilingüe and handing out flyers in faraway parts of the community, the women are slowly eroding the resistance they have faced since the start of this pandemic.
People have an opportunity to call in, and they often say regarding our coverage of COVID that they're grateful that we are providing that information.
They say to look for the helpers. You don't need to go further than these two women doing what they can to keep their communities safe. I'm Dan Grossman.
All right, Dan, thank you for that report. Political cartoons like these are part of another effort to encourage more Latinos to get vaccinated against COVID-19. It's also to fight misinformation that has been circulating in the Latino community during the pandemic. Cartoonist Lalo Acaraz is the creator of nationally syndicated comic strip La Cucaracha. He gave us this video of his work. He's been focused on getting out accurate information about the pandemic around issues like the social distancing and vaccines through his comic strips.
We have many weapons as cartoonists. You know, we really, it helps political messages go down easier. And also, you know, we can be more brutal than any written word.
Ideas for his editorial cartoons focus on what's in the news and hot topics. He's also part of the COVIDLatino.org, a project to get messages out to Latinos, especially in the Southwest, addressing vaccine hesitancy. He believes showing the impacts on families is the strongest way to reaching people.
I hope that it just makes people reflect and go like, whoa, that's just like my family. And maybe I should talk to my uncle about getting vaccinated. I think that one shook a lot of people like, hey, that's me. Out in the front yard, I can't go hang out with the family.
The latest numbers from the CDC show about 20% of the Latino population have received at least one COVID vaccine dose. That's compared to 56% of the white population, but more than all other races or ethnicities. Many patients aren't getting the critical care they need because of hospitals filled with COVID patients.
People are not aware that their actions are not just affecting themselves, but it has an indirect implication on the whole healthcare system.
What she and her sister are hoping others may learn from their father's death.
Clouds and radar showing things are pretty quiet across the area. Any moisture going down to the south, and that means we're going to see lots of sunshine as we head into your weekend. Checking this out, you can see mostly clear skies tonight going right into Saturday. That sunshine will take us from the lower 30s in the morning into the 60s in the afternoon. Looking good out there. And then Sunday, more nice weather on the way. We may be 1 or 2 degrees warmer, and a few clouds may try to move in by late in the day. It stays dry Sunday, though. Monday, that'll be a different story. We'll look at that in the 10-day forecast coming up. But for tonight, temperatures will be dipping down into the lower 30s, so a light freeze for most of us. Then tomorrow, highs into the 60s, and it will continue to get better from there as we make our way into Sunday. Highs will get into the upper 60s then, with mostly sunny skies. Again, a few high clouds late in the day. Then here come the rain clouds on Monday. 80% chance of rain. Some of that could be locally heavy. Some folks may get over an inch of rain as we head into Monday afternoon. 62 degrees for a high, so mild out there. Then we're close to 70 Tuesday and Wednesday. It looks like our front will hold off until Wednesday evening, Wednesday night. But when it hits, you'll know it, because it's going to get cold behind that front, and we may have a little bit of a chance of some wintry weather on Thursday, all dependent on how much moisture will be left and how much energy as well. Models are still far apart on exactly what's going to happen, so we'll keep chances about 30%. No reason to get too worried right now, and it does appear that we will have that chilly weather lingering into the next weekend.
The staffing issues at airports caused by COVID have only highlighted our country's need for more pilots. One flight school is hoping to help solve that. United Airlines is the only commercial airline to own a school like this. Students who graduate are given opportunities to first work with a United partner company, then work their way up to be hired as a full-time pilot with United. The airline says 80% of students are women or people of color.
We definitely need more people of color, more women in the industry.
You know, if I can do it, you can do it. You really just have to step out of there and really take a chance on your dreams.
Airlines worldwide will need at least 34,000 new pilots by 2025. That's according to the Regional Airline Association. Entry-level flying jobs require 1,500 hours of experience. Tuition at United's flight school is about $70,000. As people get priced out of rentals, could tiny homes be the answer? Well, one man got the idea after it happened to his neighbor.
And they walked by and they said, hey, this is my situation. This is what I can afford. Can I live in your backyard? And I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
How this concept is benefiting the landowners too. Americans in need of life-saving medical care are being turned away from emergency rooms. With hospitals across the country at or near capacity because of COVID-19, many patients aren't getting the critical care they need. And as Chris Conti found, the consequences have become deadly.
It is a very rural community.
There is beauty out here in these Iowa fields. It's why Dale Weeks called this place home for so long.
So he started as a math teacher.
From an early age,
Twins.
Jennifer Owenson and Julie Szymanski's dad instilled in them the importance of education. It's why Dale Weeks spent the better part of 2 decades as a superintendent in Seymour, Iowa, a community of 567 people.
I think that Dad recognized that he was there for a purpose, and that was to serve the community and to ensure that education continued in that community.
But these days, the lesson their dad is teaching has nothing to do with education.
I just haven't felt good. He just kept saying that. I just haven't felt good.
Just after Halloween, the 78-year-old was diagnosed with sepsis He was taken to the closest hospital in Centerville, Iowa, about 20 minutes from his home.
The earlier you treat this, it lowers the mortality.
It quickly became clear, though, this small rural hospital wasn't equipped to treat Dale's condition. And that's when this family started learning the true impacts of what COVID-19 is doing to the nation's healthcare system. Hospital beds across the state were filled to capacity with COVID patients. Not a single emergency room across the Midwest capable of treating Dale Weeks could accept him.
So when they told us that, we were all shocked. We were like, what do you mean you can't get him into a hospital?
4 weeks, these two sisters spent countless hours calling every hospital in the region, begging them to give their dad a bed, all while Dale's infection worsened. Doctors at the hospital he was at didn't have the antibiotics needed to treat sepsis.
It was pretty astonishing for us to think that our dad, who was very, very ill, needed specialized care, could not get into a hospital.
Eventually, he was moved to another regional hospital, where Dale Weeks spent 15 days until doctors at the University of Iowa Hospital managed to find him a bed. On November 28th, though, Dale Weeks died. His family believes had a larger hospital been able to treat him sooner, this beloved former superintendent would still be alive.
He could have been with us. Maybe he would still be in the hospital, but he'd still be around. And that what if is a very nagging feeling. And I think that complicates our grief in that, did he really have to die now?
With no place else to direct their pain.
We wanted to honor our dad, and we didn't want to dishonor him by raising this. But what we continually hear from people is this story has to be told.
These two women are hoping others might learn from their father's death and see the importance of getting vaccinated. Just keeping one COVID patient out of an ICU bed, they say, could have made the difference for Dale Weeks.
I'm frustrated that people are not realizing the seriousness of the situation. People are not aware that their actions are not just affecting themselves, but it has an indirect implication on the whole healthcare system.
It is the beauty of this place Dale Weeks loved. For his family, though, it is now a very cold, hard reminder that the pandemic is far from over.
It's this maddening grief that you want him still around, and you wonder, could he still be around if people had made a better choice?
In Seymour, Iowa, I'm Chris Conti.
I love his.
Employers are spending more now on pay and benefits than they have in the past 20 years. In 2021, the U.S. Employment Cost Index went up 4%. That's the quarterly measure of wages and benefits paid by employers. The last time we saw an increase this big was in 2001. Now, this, of course, comes as companies try to hire and retain workers while inflation rates skyrocket. Meanwhile, the gender pay gap is getting wider as workers get older. New numbers from the Census Bureau show women ages 35 to 44 were paid 30% less than men that age. That's based on data from the third quarter of 2020. Overall, women made 82 cents for every dollar that men earned. But the Bureau also found the gap is getting smaller among younger workers. This comes as more women start to break into certain higher paying jobs that are typically dominated by men. Something lawmakers say could help narrow the gender pay gap is disclosing the salary range in job postings. A handful of cities have already passed pay transparency measures, and in the spring, New York City will join them. Job experts say this may be more impactful because of several big corporations located in the city. Colorado passed a statewide law last year. An analysis from the Wall Street Journal shows most companies have been following the rule, but there are some that have found ways around posting salaries or have made them difficult to find. The affordable housing crisis in America can be counted in the millions. According to the National Low Income Housing Coalition, there's a need for more than 7 million affordable places for America's nearly 11 million lowest income families. Among the states with the biggest deficit of affordable housing, California, Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Florida, and Texas. But as Maya Rodriguez tells us, one small company is hoping tiny houses can be a solution by eventually earning money for landowners.
Inside these walls,
I will say there's a ton of work happening in here, so it's crowded.
2 stories at about 200 square feet each are taking shape.
What we do is we build backyard tiny homes.
Topher Thomas is the founder of Quorum Houses.
We just focus on affordable housing.
By building tiny homes in a specific place.
Particularly in unused space like backyards.
And these tiny houses are now linking up homeowners who have backyard space with renters who need an affordable place to live.
Part of this, building in a backyard, we're already building community.
It all started when Thomas, who is a high school teacher, was building a tiny home of his own in his backyard in Durham, North Carolina. A neighbor he knew got priced out of their rental home.
And they walked by and they said, hey, this is my situation. This is what I can afford. Can I live in your backyard? And I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And Quorum Houses was born. How does it work? Quorum Houses builds a tiny home. They cost about $80,000 and then helps find a tenant needing affordable housing. The homeowners get 20% of the rent. Quorum Houses gets the rest. Depending on the financing plan, after 10 to 15 years, the homeowners get full ownership of the tiny house. Several tiny homes from Quorum Houses are already up around Durham, with 10 more in development. It's an idea that some find intriguing.
Yeah, we're actually clearing some trees in our backyard right now for this concept.
Homeowner Andy Andrews says it's a way of getting a tiny house built and play a part in making more affordable housing available.
I think it's a great complement to some of the solutions that have already been implemented. I just think they're really doing some great work for really good reasons.
This one will be done by the end of next week, and there's already a tenant who's going to be living here.
As for Quorum Homes,
I mean, the word quorum means presence. It means in the presence of.
The goal is simple.
And so my hope is that by not having to worry about whether my rent is paid, that because of that, they're able to be more present with themselves.
In Durham, North Carolina, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
Thanks for watching KRHD News at 6. I'm back tonight at 10 o'clock. Until then, have a